Time for another psychology ramble ASMR video. I'm sitting outside of the apartment or mansion. I've been sick most of the day. Spent most of the day in bed. But that's kind of how life goes. Just because you're in a different country doesn't mean your health is suddenly better. But that kind of, brings me to today's topic of rambly videos and kind of what I've been talking about in general about people being jealous. Maybe when you feel your life is over or you feel that you haven't accomplished what somebody else has, or, you feel jealous of them. And I was talking about the idea of being jealous or envious of somebody, maybe themselves, or because of something they have or something, they've done. And I've never been a person that has like ever really felt jealous of another particular person. you know I can be jealous of maybe something they have, though, right? Maybe a part of that comes from growing up with not a lot of money, and I've never had a lot of money. you know Maybe that comes from a lack of having something, right? You know what I mean? When you don't have something, maybe you have a desire for it, for some kind of tangible object, let's say. But people, I've never had that kind of jealousy or envy towards a person, right? Because I've always been pretty comfortable with myself as a person, for better or worse, right? I've said before, one of the worst things is if you can be honest with yourself and you're like, man, I'm not happy, with the way my life is, but I'm okay with who I am as a human being, right? And of course, I've said before, I have many regrets in life, and I've talked about many times before, one of the biggest kind of regret moments of like, oh my God, I've been wasting my life, is when I was helping that homeless guy in the bathroom. Like, oh my God, what am I doing? I just started walking again, basically, you know what I mean? I'm like quotation marks popular. And, as much like, I guess, nice things that maybe, people were saying or thinking about me. I've always had these like little weird stalkers all over, you know what I mean? People saying I'm a terrible person, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, why am I helping these homeless people like this? Like, it's actually making me feel bad about myself at a certain point, right? And, but again, can I really hate on myself, for trying to make the world a better place like that? You know what I mean? So it's like a weird conundrum, because I don't like myself, but I accept myself. You know what I mean? I'm not jealous of other people in that aspect. I guess I'm like, man, I can't really hate on myself. I guess you could say I hate on myself for being too nice in a way, but I don't like, I understand myself. I'm not sure exactly how to explain, right? It's a conundrum. But I guess the point is, I don't hate, maybe if I do hate myself in different ways, but I don't hate myself in a way that makes me want to be somebody else necessarily, jealous of someone else. I can be jealous of tangible things maybe, but not a person themselves. And, recently I said that, a couple of, I guess, they're friends, you know what I mean? I've kind of had a falling out with them. I've seen that they've gotten so old that they've started blaming other people for their lives, right? Taking their anger out on others, right? And I judge people, by my own standards. I am admittedly a bitter person, right? But I understand my bitterness and I accept it, right? I understand the reasons why I'm bitter and the way I am. But I'm not the kind of person that takes my life out on other people, right? So I can only hold people to the standards that I hold myself. So, if I have a friend and they're being bitter or complaining about something, I can't hate on them for that. But if someone starts blaming, taking their life out on other people, then I hold them accountable, right? Because that's not how I live my life. I don't need that kind of negativity, right? You got to be on the same wavelength of negativity as me. If you're going to be negative like me, it's got to be my kind of negativity. You don't need to like take it to the next level, because I don't care about that, I guess, right? So recently, like I said, I've noticed a couple of people that I've known for a long time. I've known these guys since, before I got sick. You know what I mean? We're talking about, I knew them when I was winning all those tournaments. They've seen me sick before. You know what I mean? They saw me when I was losing my hair. You know what I mean? They saw me when I was winning all these tournaments, getting sick in between matches, all this kind of stuff I've known, which just means way, way long ago, right? So I've known these guys a long time, right? And they're older than me. And I've said before, people got to remember I was winning tournaments before I could even drive, right? I looked older when I was younger, and now I look younger than I'm older, right? But these guys are older, and, one of the guys, he has kids and everything like that. He's older, and, they're much older, and I guess they're in the very kind of grumpy sort of phases of their life of blaming other people for the way their lives have turned out, taking it out on others. And I'm the kind of person that, I can be a bit of a beta male, for sure. I can simp a little bit, and I can be really like easygoing for a while. But once you like finally cross the threshold with me, it's like, boom, you're over. Never again. I cut off all ties whatsoever, and I'm a pretty black and white person in that aspect, right? When I say things, I actually do them. There's definitely many people in this world that I said I was never going to talk to, and I have cut off ties with them. There's been no nostalgia or reminiscence to like talk to people for years and years after I've stopped talking to them, right? And so basically what this gets at is, and I'll tell the story, a couple of these guys, recently, so we're in this like group chat, right? And we don't see each other. God, I couldn't even tell you the last time I saw all these guys. I probably saw them maybe maybe I saw one of the guys a couple years ago. Maybe I saw one of the guys like 4 years ago. I don't remember. It's been a long time, right? So we're not like good friends or anything like that, but we're in like a group chat, right? And like I said, they've been getting very negative and taking their lives out on other people, blaming other people. And they started blaming me, actually, and like taking out their frustrations out on me, right? And to the point that they were just going in and in for like, over and over again. And I was just like, bro, I'm only going to give you so many shots before it's like, dude, what the fuck are you talking about, dude, right? So recently, I don't know, it was like a whole thing in the chat too, right? We were talking about people, all the weird kind of, gender fluid stuff. We were joking about it, right? And then so when I made my joke about it, they got really mad about it. Like, 'cause I had posted something that someone said they were ZXYZ, a GG or some shit like that. And I was like, I can't, what the fuck is a XYZGGG? You know what I mean? And they got really, they had an itch to scratch, let's say. And the funniest thing about these guys is too, these guys used to make fun of me because I've said before, you got to remember back when I was a kid, it was more acceptable to be gay than it was to be a nerd, right? And these guys actually, they used to make fun of me that I had so many gay friends in the fighting game community, that maybe, I was gay on the down low, or we had this one friend, I guess maybe you guys, if anyone's actually watching my channel, they might know who I'm talking about. They used to always, bag on me for being friends with Nate and hanging out with Nate. And Nate was extremely, Nate was very gay. Nate was one of the guys that, his story was that he was one of the guys that got many other guys into the gay scene. He gave them their first blowjob. He was pretty gay. Okay. You know what I mean? He was Joel's first blowjob. He gave Joel a blowjob, and I don't know how many other, but I mean, from what I've heard, it's, and he came out to me because he was older than me. And he was like, wow, how are you, I can't believe you're so young and, you're so okay with being gay and hanging out with all of us. And I'm like, I'm not gay. He's like, wait, what? He's like, oh shit. He's like, oh, well, I thought you were hanging out with us because, we're gay. And I just thought, you were cool with it. I'm like, yeah, I'm cool that you're gay, but I'm not gay. I'm just, whatever. If we're friends, we're friends. It doesn't bother me. And these dudes used to bag on me for being friends with, so easygoing with so many like gay people, right? But now, as it's cool. It's like, not that it was bad before, but these guys are, very they have an itch to scratch, right? So, I was just talking about, because like I said, I draw the line at, if you don't know if you're a fucking milkshake or a Slurpee, you obviously have a mental problem. That's not a real human being knows if they're a male or a female. Come on, that's not real. You don't think that you're a GG or a milkshake or a frog, whatever the fuck. That means you have a mental problem, okay? And so I just posted this thing because someone, was like a forum to say if you're a GG or a BB, a BGs, I don't know, whatever the fuck it was. And I'm like, this shit is so ridiculous, dude. Like, can't you just admit that you're a boy or girl? So anyway, the point is, we were all talking about this in the chat before. But when I said it, they got super mad and they started talking a bunch of shit about me. They're like, what do you care if someone thinks that they're a BG or blah, blah, whatever? It's like, how's that affecting you? And it's like, what do you, it's like, you think, I was like, I bet you hate transgender people too. You hate gay people, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And like, I'm like, bro, what are you talking about? And I'm like, aren't we all just joking about this right now? And they're like, you know what? You shouldn't even talk about that. They're like, I don't know. I'd have to go look at the chat. It was something like, no LGBTQ member has ever done anything to you in real life. What are you talking about? You should never talk about anyone being a BG or whatever. And I was like, what are you talking about, dude? It's like, you guys know that I've been harassed by the LGBTQ for like years now. And they're like, whatever, that's bullshit. I don't believe anything about that. And I'm like, what are you guys talking about now? This is like old news. We already know this. And I'm like, dude, there's like tons of videos. It's like, and they're like, well, I've never seen any video about it. I've never seen it. And I'm like, well, I mean, you guys all know my YouTube, you guys watch it. And they're like, well, I don't watch those videos. And I'm like, show me a video where it happens. And I'm like, well, there's a video. And they're like, I refuse to watch that. And I'm like, so you're asking me to show where I've been harassed, but you don't want to watch it? And they're like, no, I'm not going to watch it. And I'm like, they're like, it's fake. And then they started chiming in, they're like, you know what? And then like, it was going on. Like, dude, they were going in, dude. And I'm just like listening to them, dude. And I started ignoring, because it's like a chat, right? And man, like I said, they've been going in for like a month. And I was just like ignoring them. I'm like, bro, you guys are like, there's something fucking wrong with you guys. What do you think this is like? You obviously have a problem. You're mad about something. And you're trying to take it out on me. It's like, you're a fucking grown man, dude. Like, what's even crazier too? If I recall correctly, not only is it ironic that these guys used to make fun of me for having so many gay friends, these guys actually, if I recall, this one might not be true. If I recall correctly, I would have to go back and look, and I'll have to ask other people. They used to joke about, and this is why this is going to be relevant, how they would spit in people's food. Did they work at Subway? Does anyone know who I'm talking about? Maybe they worked at Subway or Subplace or something, and they've said before that they used to spit in people's food if they didn't like it. So not the most outstanding, members of society, right? Like I couldn't tell you if they've ever done anything to make the world a better place, right? And they started to say that, they're like, you know what? I don't believe you're sick either. And I was like, what? And they're like, it's fake. And they're like, you know what? I think that your doctor just wrote that because he wants the government to give you money. And I'm like, and once you start like actually like, bringing up my health, it's like, dude, we've known each other since I was a kid. You guys like saw me lose almost all my hair, dude, from radiation. You guys knew me when I like fucking couldn't walk. What the fuck are you talking about? You've seen, and I was like, the audacity. And I'm like, man, the point is, I'm like, you guys are really old. Your life is fucking over, isn't it? Like, you're actually trying to blame. And they're like, you know what, Clayton? You're the worst kind of human being I know. And it's like you are 100% of what I hate about human beings. And it's like, you know what? They said, you should never be allowed to travel. And they're like, you should have to basically stay at home and suffer. You know what I mean? Your money, you should not be able to use taxpayer money to go to Japan on disability, which is even more ridiculous because if you recall, if you're even old enough to know, before I went on disability, I had a full-time job. My SSDI is paid for under my name, which is even more ridiculous, and it actually shows you how crazy people, it's kind of scary if you think about it, that you can know people for, God, I've known them for so long, right? And you've seen them get crazy and they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. And it's like, dude, I knew you when I had a full-time job. I paid into my SSDI. You know what I mean? You guys have seen me sick. What are you talking? And like, even crazier too. One of the guys, you know what I mean? Because I was going to all these tournaments before I could even drive. You know what I mean? I actually, because I couldn't drive, and you know, I've said this before, and actually this is even another story, you know, which will blow people's mind, that I was winning tournaments, you know, this easily, so much, and this much, right? That I used to give one of the guys gas money because he would randomly come over and I would play him sometimes. I used to pay for this motherfucker's gas when he would come to play me in video games because, again, I was a kid when I was going to these tournaments. You know what I mean? So even if I wanted to practice, someone would have to drive to come to play me because I didn't live by all these people that played all these video games. So actually, that's another good story for people that think that I was ever a dude that randomly practiced all the time or anything like that. This is actually a guy that I used to give him gas money when he would come over and play me. There was actually even a time I remember I beat him so bad in video games one time. One of these guys came over for this specific story that he took my controller and he went, boom, and he threw it against the wall. I was beating him so bad. And it's actually kind of a joke that we've always had in our little friend group, so to speak, because it was funny because he got so mad that he could not beat me that he took my controller, he threw it against the wall, and he stutters, and he was like, sorry. He walked down the stairs, and I was just like, bro, you serious right now, dude? You just took my controller, exploding, and I'm like, really? And you know, the thing is, I know he took video games very seriously because, man, there's been many stories that he used to fall asleep at the arcade. You know what I mean? He used to play video games all the time, dude. And he did, you know, this guy, he did pretty well locally in our own scene, right? It's not like he did bad at video games, but obviously he has some regrets about video games if he would be so mad about it. And they were in the chat, and they're like, you know what, the only thing you're good for is for video games and getting girls. And they're like, you don't do anything else for society. You know, that's all you're good for, video games and getting girls. And I'm like, well, what are you good for? And I'm like, dude, and I'm like, and first of all, you bringing up my health, like, bro, you guys have known me since I've been sick. What the fuck are you talking about? Like, there's just a few years ago I had to teach myself to walk in. And like, don't bring up your health with me. And I'm like, bro, you're, what are you talking? I'm so, how do you compare to me? One of the guys is fat and all, you know, all this kind of stuff. And one of the kids, and eventually, you know, and like I said, I'm trying to let them know, like, bro, you know, once this conversation is done, we're never talking again, dude. And like one of the guys, his kid is like retarded or something, which is even funnier. So if he's actually watching this video, you know what I mean? I've actually heard other people in the group, not to him, say, oh man, his kid, I think he's retarded the way he looks. I'm glad my kid didn't turn out retarded, right? There's a F you, motherfucker. I didn't say that one. You know what I mean? And I even told him, like, yo, bro. And I said in the chat, maybe your kid turned out retarded because of some of the karma in your heart right now for the fucked up shit you're saying. You know what I mean? Like the audacity for you to try to say that you think my doctor wanted the government to give me money. And so he faked all the medical records or some shit like that. And I'm like, what are you absolutely talking about, bro, dude? And I'm like, have you gone crazy? Are you that old? I don't know how old he is now. I mean, one of the guys could be almost 50 years old. I was just shocked that they were like, you're 100% of what I hate about human beings. Like, someone like you should never be able to travel. You've never done anything for this world other than, you know, you've been good at video games and, you know, you can get girls. Like, who cares? And I was just like, what have you done? What are you mad about right now? And they're like, this is all because you brought up that joke about, you know, the LGBTQ. And I'm like, bro, we've already been talking about this and we were all joking about it. It wasn't a big deal. And aren't you the same guys that used to make fun of me for being friends with gay people, aren't you the same guys that, and this one I'm not exactly sure, same guys that used to joke about spitting in people's food? Like, you guys aren't some exactly upstanding citizens for this world. And I guess the too long didn't read for that is, it's like, wow, I got motherfuckers jealous of me that I travel by sacrificing, by basically doing nothing. You know what I mean? I live my life very, very simply. You know what I mean? I'm in Japan. I spent almost all day sick in bed. You know, what do you think I'm doing, dude? And I guess it shows you that other people's lives are just over, right? Like, I've never had like an amazing life or anything like that. You know what I mean? I've had an anticlimactic life, right? But it's always interesting to me. I'm thinking like, man, people are really jealous of my life. I've never even got to really live life, dude. I lived my entire life in and out of a hospital, dude. And you still got people that are somehow jealous of that. Apparently people that I've actually known. But you know what I mean? I'm like, wow, I guess you guys got really old. Your lives are really over, right? And I guess it's, you know, I've talked about, generally when I think about, you know, the lifespan of a person, you know, there's a joke that guys, you know, their lives, you know what I mean, they still continue even when they're older. And then like a girl's lifespan, so to speak, is like shorter, you know, because beauty fades quickly, whatever, like that. And certainly, you know, I've, from a certain perspective, a weird perspective, I've outlived many people now. And I've seen that, man, I've outlived many of the former people that I even used to know, right? Anyway, I was pretty, like I said, I was pretty shocked by some of the messages, and I'm like, bro, and one of the guys, so basically, I think what I said for the one guy, I was like, yo, bro, if you've always had this weird fucking anger in your heart, you know, we've known each other since we were kids, or since I was kids and you were older, and, you know, before I could drive. I don't know how old would he have been? How old would one of the guys have been when I first met him? Well, I think he was in college before I could drive, so I don't know. Maybe he's 4 or 5 years older than me. I'm not sure. And the other guy is, man, he might be 10 years older than me or something. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I guess I haven't thought about that too much, but, you know, it's like, bro, you guys have known me before I was sick, too. I got sick. And it's like, dude, are you mad? You're that mad, bro? Really? You've had like all this hate in your heart, and I was like, not a very nice thing to say, but I said, I'm like, yo, dude, maybe that's the reason your kid turned out fucking retarded, dude. And I hope every time you look at your kid, you know that's maybe karma for all this like pent up supposed hate you've had for me. You think I'm an evil fucking human being this whole time, which is always weird to me, because it's like, bro, you invited me to your fucking wedding, dude. Isn't that weird? It's like, I would never, if I thought someone was the most terrible human being in the entire world, you know what I mean, that I've secretly hated this entire time, I would not fucking invite them to my wedding. Some people are really, really fucking weird about that shit, dude. You know what I mean? And I was like, bro, I don't know. If you've hated me this much, why the fuck are we friends, bro? So I'm like, yo, bro, hopefully that knows that don't ever talk to me again. You know what I mean? I was like, wow, dude. And that one guy, he's had like a failing comedy career. Like, I remember, God, he was trying to be a stand-up comic for a while, and no one was apparently laughing at any gig he ever did. And I was like, dude, and I'm like, you've been messaging me for a fucking month straight now. And finally I just responded in the group chat. They kept posting. And I'm like, dude, maybe this is why your fucking, you know, comedy career didn't take off, dude, because you're trying to tell the same joke for a month straight now, dude. It's not funny. Get over it. I'm going to call you out right now. You're fat. You're old. You know what I mean? You're jealous of me because I did more than you in a video game. You're jealous of me because I saved my money to travel and I lived my life simply. And so you think my health must be fake even though you guys knew me before? Like, I think there's something wrong with you, dude. You guys have actually gone loco. Locomotive crazy engine, dude. I don't know, man. But I guess yeah, I don't know. It's kind of weird. I guess I've known, man. I'm trying to think about it. Now I'm thinking about this is a long video. I still remember. Oh, I stopped. This is the loudest thing I've ever heard in Japan. Anyway, that was very loud. Talk about locomotive engines. Anyway, I'm just thinking like, man, dude. God, it makes me think about that. One of the other guys, the last time I cut him off, I don't think I've seen that guy in like 6 or... how long ago? It might have been like 6 years since I've seen one of those guys. I told that story. That guy, he got really deep into drugs and he started going crazy. And eventually, like I said, he actually showed up to my doorstep one day. And he was like, hey, Clayton, sorry. I know you didn't do all these things, blah, blah, blah. And I remember, because I didn't even let him in the house because I was like, oh man, dude, I don't know what the fuck this guy's going to do. He's been like crazy now. He's had like a mental breakdown. And I didn't even let him in the house. We were just talking on the doorstep. And he's like, hey, I know I was kind of fucked up a year ago. I said a lot of things that weren't true, didn't happen, blah, blah, blah. And I'm sorry. And I'm like, yeah, okay. And it's already over. I had no intention of ever being his friend ever again anyway. And then when he was about to leave, and he's like, but I just want to know one thing. And I'm like, what? And he's like, why did you tell girls that I used to jump really high on a trampoline in middle school? And I was like, what? And he's like, why would you make girls like me? And I was like, what? And he's like, why did you tell girls that I used to jump high on a trampoline? Why would you want to make girls like me? And I was just like, dude, first of all, what the fuck are you even fucking talking about? Second of all, I didn't even know you in fucking middle school. What are you talking about jumping high on a trampoline in middle school? And he's like, oh yeah, we didn't know each other in middle school. And he's like, oh fuck. And then he like ran to his car and drove away, which, technically I've never seen him since. And I was like, bro, technically maybe I shouldn't have let him drive because he's fucking obviously losing a brain cell. But, I guess it shows you, man, I've met a lot of really fucking weird people from the video game community. It's fucking weird, dude. Anyway, remember if you like the videos, like, sub, silly, comment, share, support the channel if you want. I appreciate it. Thanks. The end.